Hi, friends. Welcome back to Carry Forward. I'm Shauna Nissen, your host, and this episode is going to look a little different. I don't have a perfectly wrapped up message. I don't have a lesson tied up with a bow. I'm not interviewing someone that is, looking back at the challenges they've overcome and how well they're doing now. This is going to be more of a real conversation with stuff that I'm really going through right now. And I think it's important because I think it's something that's not discussed often, or maybe not often enough. Lately, I've found myself in this place where if you looked from the outside, you'd probably go, she's doing good, you know? And in a lot of ways, that's true. I am. I'm doing much better, probably than I ever have been. And I'm feeling more content in my relationship with the Lord, in my relationship with others, and my relationship with myself. But internally, there's still this quiet feeling of being a little lost. And it's not like I'm falling apart. I'm not in crisis. It's just I'm unsettled, and I still don't feel like I have quite the right direction that I need to go. Um, and I know that life doesn't work that way, that we don't always know like where we're supposed to go. And then even when we do have a plan, it doesn't always work out, obviously. I'm very familiar with that. But I just get, I guess, frustrated that I feel still so unsettled when I feel like I've done so well. So today what I'm talking about is that space. That space that's between healing and becoming. Um and I think it's a space that we live in a lot and we just don't talk about much. Um I know that I talked to some of my fellow widow friends that are, closer to their loss than me, and then some are around the same timeline as my loss at 10 years. And I will say that I hear it more, what I'm feeling now, in my friends that are closer to um, my time frame of loss. Because I think when you're closer to your loss, like a 1, 2 years out, that you're so in it, you're in the trenches, and you're in the midst of trying to like survive and figure out what you need to do to even start to heal. And then when you do become like further out, you've taken the time to learn that and get some healing under your belt. And I think we all, speaking to my peers, feel like that we should feel more settled, more like, okay, this is our next chapter. And it doesn't matter like if we have a significant other in our life or not, just like feeling like, okay, this is where we're at, and this is the life that is now upon us, and we've done some healing and we've accepted it, so we should be good to go, right? Well, that's not the case, it seems, because a lot of us, to include myself, and that's who I'm focusing on, obviously, because I can only tell my own story, is that, yeah, we're able to look fine from the outside and like we're moving forward. But then we have moments, maybe days, that it's just all too much. And like me, for example, I recently, like a full day for me is to get up, relatively early, depending on what day it is. If it's Tuesday, Thursday, then that's going to be earlier because I get up around 4:30 and I go meet a group to run at 5. But I have somewhat of a routine that that I guess, developed from things I've read and things that help me. And so I will get up and I will have silence. And that for me is like meditation. It can be actual meditation, the more Eastern um, style of meditation, or it can be a centering prayer. It's just whatever I'm feeling like that morning. And centering prayer is similar. It's a type of meditation, but you're not focusing on your body. You're not focusing on your breath. You're focusing on the Lord's presence with you. And so I will do that. I will also take some time to read, and that was typically a Bible study, um, or a book that I'm going through. It may be, it's just to get my brain started with some good positive information. So it is typically a positive thing. So, um, and then I will take some time to maybe do a video journal, or I will write in a journal, just like what's been going on, how I'm feeling, the good and bad of things. And then I will do some kind of activity. And like I said, sometimes that starts first because that's 5 a.m. run, or I'll just do some stretches and then later do a little bit more physical activity. But that is a good way that I start my day, and it keeps me, I feel like, aligned and focused. So that's a typical start of my days. I've done that for a long time. If you want to know more about that, I even have like an acronym that I do. But that's not what this podcast is about. Maybe I will have a podcast about that. And then I try to start, doing my day. Either that's working, recording a podcast episode, maybe getting together for a Bible study with a group at my church, or having lunch with a friend. But typically, or, cleaning up my house, things like that. But a lot of times, especially midweek, that a chunk of that is work, because I do technical, like information design. And so I always feel like, wow, I got friends, and I have community, and I have work, and I even have some outlets like this podcast, and and that all goes well for a while, but then I will hit a wall and feel like, wow, I can't deal with life, and I can't deal with any more stimuli. I can't, like, I just need to shut it all out and have some peace and quiet. And a lot of times for me, that looks like taking a nap, or maybe meditating, or even sometimes unhealthy, like binge watching something on Netflix. But it's just shocking to me that I have done so much work in trying to heal and be better, and to accept this life that is upon me. And it's not a bad life by any means. I have a beautiful daughter. I like she's doing well. I have lots of friends. I have great community, wonderful family members that are often supportive. But still, I just hit those walls, and nothing's really wrong, and I'm thinking back to a specific day recently. There was nothing really wrong, but there still felt something off. And I think that we all probably go through that on some level. I'm just talking about it because, like, it's not fun, because I feel like I'm doing all the things, and actually digging deep. And if you know me personally, I have deep conversations. And I recently spoke to a friend, and she's a deep conversation person too. And she's like, "We're deep wells." And yeah, I am. Um, and so I'm just like, why do I keep having these times that I feel like I just can't deal, and that this life, even 10 years after my loss, is just not what I want and is not acceptable. Um, and to be honest, I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm here having this conversation with you guys. Um, and sometimes I feel like, maybe I'm clinging to the past because what I had was really, really good, and it was what I wanted. I had a partner um, that we were so aligned that, we got one another, we had each other's backs. I felt known by Andy. He knew how to love me so well. I think I've spoken of that before. Um, I felt supported. Um, Life is difficult with all the challenges, even the easy challenges like grocery shopping and, car maintenance and, um, taxes, all that. Things that I've, more than capable of handling myself. I have been for quite some time now and learned a lot through Andy to handle that better. But it all just gets really heavy. Um, and and I think a lot of that for me is because I had what I wanted, right? And it was working really well. And then now I'm left to accept this reality that to me doesn't feel as good, no matter how much I do to make it feel as good, you know? And I'm not idolizing my past, I'm not. There's probably times that I have, but I don't feel that I am now. I'm just honoring the truth that it felt really good. Um, to have a partner, to have someone that I trusted, and we were married for 21 years, and we built a life together, like, many uh, uh, widows and widowers that have that. But I'm just talking in regards to like how I feel, and like it's hard to look back at something that felt so good and so right and was so supportive and loving, and then now, trying to I I think I'm past trying to recreate that, but I definitely am trying to find something that is similar. And I've done a lot of things. I've traveled the world, I've volunteered and helped different organizations. I have done some unhealthy things, like try to be in relationships that didn't work for me. I've tried, you know, drinking my problems or at the end of night, like letting drinking and then having enough where I didn't, you know, think about the stressors. But I'm not doing that anymore. I even the relationships, I'm learning that um me personally, I have to watch the relationships, romantic relationships that I have in my life, because I have a tendency of wanting to make them something that they're not. So I am learning that I have to go a little slower and not, I think, connect so quickly. And those are hard lessons that I've learned. Um, and I think that all is due to my journey, right? The life that I've lived. Um, because I connect really good life with relationship, and specifically Andy, but I think I have. in the past, like connected that to like a man, like, okay, let me let me work on having a really good relationship with this man and things will be better. I will feel better inside. And that's not true. So, and I don't think a lot of us talk about that. So I'm being honest and vulnerable and talking about it. Because rebuilding after a life that was so good is harder than what people talk about, I believe. And I think it does need to be spoken about. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be solved in this, episode. I wish I could. But it's really hard to rebuild a life that continues to be a little less than, honestly. So, um, and that doesn't mean that I'm not strong because I've overcome a lot. I've continued to maintain a wonderful household and I feel like raise a beautiful daughter that you guys got to meet in one of my podcast episodes. And I think she is just a beautiful human being through and through, and she's doing well. Um, and like I said, from the outside, I probably come off to many, and I know I do because a lot of my friends tell me that they're like, well, you seem so busy and always have things going on. So we don't, you don't feel the need to call and check on you or, see what's going on with you because you seem to have like so many things. And I would just say that just because people come off strong doesn't mean that they're not lonely and still need people to like check on them. Because I think part of my coping mechanisms is to like seem like I have it all together. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have that, and for the most part, I do. And a lot of times, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm fine. I've gotten a lot better about reaching out and saying, hey, can you come over and let's hang out just recently. So that's a new thing that I've realized I need to do, like go, hey, you know what, I'm not doing so good, could you want to come over and hang out or have a go for a coffee, something like that. um yeah, because I'm learning that through asking that a lot of people do feel like that, you know, I'm strong and I'm doing fine and there's real no need to check in on me because she's doing it and she's feeling better. Um, and I would say in my own case, and I'm sure in others, that's not always true. Like just because someone seems fine doesn't mean that they don't like wouldn't appreciate someone going, hey, what are you doing today? Do you have time for a coffee or do you have time to talk? Just checking in with you. Um, even 10 years out, and I have built a lot of community. But it still feels good to have someone kind of check in on you. Um, because it's hard, um, because I often miss having Andy just be a witness to my life, and me be a witness to his, and having someone to process life with. Um, and I think this is also all hitting me right now too, because my sweet Athena has, um, she's an adult now and she's moved out and doing really well. And not that she helped me necessarily process life, but we did life together. And I know that this is probably coming up a lot because I'm in a transition of empty nest, and it definitely doesn't look like what I thought it would. Right? It looks a lot different, and it doesn't look honestly how I want it to. It just looks like it is. And it's not neither bad, or necessarily exactly what I want, um, but it just is. And that's hard at times to, like, I think, process. So, I'm just saying that just so if anyone else feels that out there, that you're not alone. Like, just because things are going well and life isn't like a complete mess doesn't mean that, everything is hunky dory and you don't need, outside people to go, "Hey, how you doing?" And, you know, even want to and you still desire to have someone process life with you, right? And that's not easy at this age because you can't just like connect and then you're immediately in a relationship and you're both ready to like process life together. That's just not how relationships work. Um, but just refocusing that just because you're strong and you seem fine doesn't mean that you're not lonely. So if you have friends out there that their life doesn't look like they expected it to, be it from divorce or losing a spouse or whatever it might be, losing a child, like check on them, even if they seem fine. That's just my 2 cents, I guess. Um, I will say, and I already touched on that, that I have, um, recognized some of my coping mechanisms that weren't so healthy, like, maybe having too much wine, reaching out for relationships that, were not the best fit, even though they felt good in, like, the moment, and, I was able to go and do things, and, it was able to um, not be as lonely because I had someone to go and do things with. Um, and oftentimes had someone to talk things through, right? Maybe they weren't seeing life through the same lens as me, but um, had someone to talk things through. But when those relationships are not a good fit for you and you're using them you're still going forward with them because you're like, oh, I would like to be in a relationship with someone even if it's not a right fit, just because I'm lonely and I want to be in a partnership. That's not healthy. And I don't think that I realized in the moments that that's what I was doing, right? It's not like that's what I set out to do. But then looking back and learning, I'm like realizing, oh, yes, that is what you're doing. And you need to do better, Shauna. You need to choose better, um, and start, but when you realize that and you almost like have to start over. So that's choosing better can be really hard, especially when you're in the mix of it, right? So I think it's important that one does become self-aware, and I have. But just because I'm self-aware of my bad coping mechanisms doesn't make it easier to choose better. It can be very lonely to choose differently, um, and to, pull back and have to reach out in an uncomfortable way to people that maybe you wouldn't normally reach out to. But I've started doing that. And am I doing it perfectly? Absolutely not. By any means, but I am choosing differently, and healthier patterns, which I think is wonderful for me. I'm happy with myself for that, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard and it's not lonely, and that some days I don't want to just go, well, this feels better. So why not just do this? But it's And I only mention that just because sitting in this discomfort of it not feeling good, even though I know it's a better choice, and not trying to escape out of the uncomfortable, is really hard. And I don't know if anyone else has dealt with that, um, but I have, and a lot recently. And I do lean into the Lord, but even in sometimes in my uncomfortable times when I'm trying to choose right, I get frustrated, and I don't always look to the Lord and pray. Um, even though I know that in the end that is the right choice, and He's going to provide a comfort and satisfaction to my soul like no other. It's sometimes hard because it's not tangible, right? I think that's the hardest part, that speaking with the Lord and asking Him to give you comfort oftentimes isn't tangible. So I'm walking through that process. I think I'm doing better. I'm not perfect, but I just think it's something that should be mentioned. Yeah, because yeah, making healthier choices doesn't always come with immediate comfort. And for me, and for a society that we live in, that we can get instant comfort in a matter of seconds by like getting anything delivered, it's hard to walk that road. And so if you're walking that road right now, know that you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And like I talked about, just trusting God without having it figured out, letting go of needing life to feel like it used to, trusting His character over my understanding, all that is really hard. And sometimes I don't do it right. And God's just waiting for me, like, to come back and go, okay, Lord, help, you know? And I've been doing that a lot lately, like in the past actually day and today. Like, Lord, just help me because I feel super uncomfortable and I don't know what to do and what's the next steps. And I feel like I've healed a lot and I'm helping others and I'm helping myself. But like, it still doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the life that I'm supposed to be in. And I always have this missing of the life that I had that felt great. And I had support and I had someone that trusted me and I trusted him. And so, like, it's just very uncomfortable. and and trying to keep the faith and know that Lord has just a life, for me that is, I'm trying to remember that verse, Jeremiah 29. And, trusting in the Lord, you're going to have a life. He has a life that is good for you and prosperous and not one of desperation and need. That's not the verse by any means verbatim, but it's the gist of what sits in my heart of it. Um, and just, but all of that is truly hard. And if you're walking through something like that right now, so am I. I do trust in the Lord, and I know that He has the best intentions for my life, but it doesn't always feel that way, especially when things don't work out as you hoped, or you're confused, like why someone's in your life, why someone's not in your life, like all that. I just hope that if you are in a space like this too, where you're doing better, but still feeling a little lost, that you know that you're not behind, you're not broken, you're in the middle of becoming just like me. And maybe this is just what it looks like to be carried forward. Because I know I'm not who I was and I'm not who I'm becoming yet. And that in between space is quieter and lonelier than people ever talk about. And that's why I've done this episode. It needs to be talked about. And I hope it's helped you today. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed week. And I hope I see you back here at Carried Forward.
Thanks for watching and listening to Military Broadcast Radio on Roku TV. If you missed today's episode, the podcast will be available on
and all major platforms shortly after we go off the air. We're here for you, not for us, giving veterans a voice. This is Military Broadcast.